wanted to ask today, are we withdrawing ourselves so that we can have a victory? So that we can see redemption in our life? There are times, lots of times and incidences where we need to withdraw ourselves from certain situations, people, locations, all this kind of thing. And sometimes we don't want to do that to have the redemption for whatever, because we don't think it's logical, because it might hurt our pride, all kinds of reasons. Well, tomorrow we will be signing the sale of our house, and so it's very interesting because the people came, they saw it, they've accepted the offer, we've accepted the offer, and we're going to sign it tomorrow. And it was really interesting how it came about, and I've had, encouragement and all this kind of stuff to be able to get through this time. But we need that quietness and that rest, and you try to get into it. But I put that sign out in front of the house last December, right? Because I was like, I'll just throw an $8 sign because people are coming by for Christmas. You never know who could be driving by, right? So that's 11 months, right? The sign has not got red letters anymore. Actually, it's in the back of my van. I should have brought it in to show you. The letters are white because the sun has bleached all the color out. And so through that time, in order to stay steadfast that it's going to sell, right? You have the real estate agents over and they tell you got to remove this and you got to paint that. They want you to put at least $20,000 in it so they can sell it for $20,000 less than you want so they can get their money quick. But it's a long time to have the patience and the steadfastness, and so you go through these times where it's really hard to know if you're doing the right thing. Should you get the real estate agent? Should you leave the sign out? All those kinds of things. But it is through quietness and trust that we find redemption in every area of our life. And usually we like to go to the flesh and say, what can I do? Not what is Jesus going to do? So, in 2015, I had to withdraw from a relationship because my heart was racing all the time when I woke up in the morning, even to the point where I couldn't breathe. And I had to withdraw from a relationship knowing that I didn't have a job, that I didn't have 20 years of any kind of job that was paid, and where was I going to live? How was I going to go to the next step? Was I going to be out of the house? I didn't know. That didn't rest on me. And because if I was going to stay there, how long would I stay there? I didn't know. I just had a dream that the girls, the dog, and I were moving, but I didn't know anything else. And so, in December 2017, I stuck the sign out there. And then along the way, I heard from the Holy Spirit that said, you've spoken the words out, that it was anybody, you put out a sign, it'll sell. So, I did that. Then the real estate agents, 3 of them came and went. I didn't sign any of them. The people were coming to look. Aaron sent me some revelation and encouraging words in all this. Gerald said to me, would you be patient? No, he didn't say that. He patiently said patience. And that helped a lot. And then there's all the lay down of the different aspects of fear. And all the people that tell you not to sell the house when you know the Holy Spirit told you to sell the house, they all show up really fast right about the time when that's happening. And then I went into a time of peace after laying things down. So 2 weeks ago, when they walked around down our street and saw the sign, and they came over and last week to talk about it some more, and now this week they're signing it. Because they got out of their car to see if what it was like to live on the street. And they walked around the tree, which was like 2 houses from us, looked at our sign, and both burst out laughing. And she said, well, go knock on the door. And he goes, I I can't just go knock on the door. She goes, yeah, just go knock on the door. It's funny how she told him to do that. But anyway, they phoned and came over. So I didn't realize how fast the situation was for them. To them, it's like a whirlwind. They haven't been looking for a long time. They just drove down the street and thought, what's it like to live on this street? Yeshua brings the people to you, and he will sell the house. He's your real estate agent, right? So there's been backlash from telling people that we've sold the house. And even within just a minute after Nick and Christy left and said that they would buy the house, we had backlash of people phoning and saying we shouldn't sell the house. Because the demons know and the familiar spirits know. And they talk to each other and send people your way. So we need a time where we can have some quiet time and that we can withdraw ourselves from situations and people so that we can do what God wants us to do. And through all of this with the house, I was starting to think this week, last week, when they said they wanted to buy the house, the first thing that happened to me was I had to pick a price. And all the regrets started piling up. All the things that we wanted to do in the house. All the things that just started piling up. I never thought about it before, but it came piling up on me. And everything was really heavy about selling the house. And so I needed to go to lay down. And once I went to lay down, I was able to talk to them. I was able to come up with a price. I was able to have peace with the price. And I was able to counter offer or what we had come up with. And then we could come into an agreement. But I needed that time to withdraw and make sure I laid that stuff down before I had them over again or before I called them. Because I would not have been in any state of peace to have any kind of wisdom, to make any kind of decisions. And they could probably read on me if I didn't, all the anxiety. And they could read it the wrong way, that it was about the sale of the house or that I was withholding information or anything, right? But I needed that time to retreat and lay it down. So that was the first week. The second week I had to do the same thing. Yesterday I couldn't come here to do lay down, but the Anthony Henday, just telling you, great place to lay things down. Go around the whole ring road. You get a lot. You can either do a ring of praise or you can do a ring of lay down, and it works great. Especially late at night when there's no traffic. Don't do that at rush hour. It won't help. But just to be able to lay it down, I had to lay it down. Everything was heavy again. Another week goes by, and all those things start to. You just start to. The more you lay the things down, the more you take that time out and withdraw yourself and lay things down, the more your body and your whole being just craves that peace. And so those things came up again and laid some more stuff down about the house and about telling everybody that, okay, the house is sold, and making sure everybody who needed to sign the paper would sign the paper. All those things have to be laid down because those are all fears. Okay, well now how do I tell this person? How do I tell some of the children that the house is sold? How do I get a signature from the other party for selling the house, and how do I tell them? All these things start to come up, and those things you have to withdraw, go to God, lay them down. And so I did. I was driving home and I laid that down. And last night a phone call came. And the phone call was all about how, a person being very upset about money. And I said, I have an answer for you. And they said, what? I said, I sold the house. All your problems are gone. So I didn't need to phone the person to tell them about selling the house. They phoned me. I said, I can solve your problem. The house sold. And gave them an answer. So God can do things without us doing anything. He can bring the people to us. We don't necessarily have to phone the people. We don't have to go out and hunt them. They will drive down your street. They will find you. They will phone you. And I think of when Joyce called me that day, 19 years ago almost now, and I was upset. And I didn't know what I was going to do, and I knew my family was in trouble, and I knew I needed a counselor. And I hung up on my then father-in-law, and Joyce called me. As soon as that thing went down, phone rang, it was Joyce, and there was my answer. God brings people to us when we need it, right? So he's done that again. In Matthew 4, Jesus, when he began his ministry, in verse 12, said, "Now when Jesus heard that John had been taken into custody, Yeshua withdrew into Galilee, and leaving Nazareth, and he came and settled in Capernaum." So here is a time when an event happens in his life, and we have events that happen in our life, and he withdrew from a place. There's times when we need to withdraw from a place. It could be a town, it could be an area of town, it could be, a house, whatever it is. But there are times when we need to withdraw from places. And when we do that, when it is the right time to withdraw from a place, because something has happened, to get refreshed and renewed and have a new beginning, then we can have things be fulfilled in our life that God has for us, an anointing. And this is what happened with Jesus, because there was a fulfillment that Isaiah the prophet had spoken. And verse 16, "And the people were sitting in darkness saw a great light," because Yeshua came. "And those who were sitting in the land and shadow of death, upon them a light dawned." So there is a time when we are to actually physically move somewhere or go somewhere else so we can walk in our anointing, because our job is to bring light to the world, right? So there are things that we need to do, but it's so easy to get trapped, let's say, with a house where we have all these memories, all these things. I could get all wrapped up in regrets and what everybody else is telling me and how everybody else is feeling, because I have people in my family who do not want me to sell the house because they think that's their home base. Well, it's not their home base. They don't come over very often, right? It's not their home base. And your house is not your home. Yeshua is your home, not your physical house, right? But a lot of times when you grow up in a house, I don't know, did anyone have their grandmother or grandparents be in a house for a really long time, right? And you remember the stairs, and I remember the smell of the coal. I remember the stairs. I remember the attic. I know what was in the attic. All the places that you played, right? And so when somebody comes along and takes that house down, you have to release that house, right? You have to release it, because you're not there anymore, they're not there anymore, and you still have the memories. You don't need the physical house, because Yeshua is your home, and you don't need that. And just like the Israelites, when they were in the wilderness, they may have felt like they were just out there, right? But really, Yeshua is with them. He is to be our home. So there is a time for us to withdraw from places. In verse 17, "From that time, Yeshua began to preach and say, 'Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand.'" So there are events that happen in our life, and we need to withdraw to do the work of the kingdom. We may withdraw from a job, a house, a state, a province, a country, right? If your anointing is in Africa, well, you need to withdraw from Canada at the given time. In Matthew 12, in verse 9, it says, "Departing from there, Yeshua, he went into a synagogue, and he finds a man whose hand is withered. And they asked Jesus, 'Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath?' Why? Because they wanted to accuse him. People are always wanting to try to accuse you, especially at this time in this season, because they want to accuse you because, well, you're not giving gifts. You're not doing things. So they want to trap you. And it's conscious, some of it, a lot of it's subconscious, right? And so they wanted to accuse him. And of course, he healed the man's hand, right? But the Pharisees, they went out and they wanted to conspire against him, that they might destroy him. And in verse 15, "But Jesus, aware of this, he withdrew from there." there are times that we need to withdraw from people who are going to accuse us of things. And how do you do that? In love. Because many followed Yeshua, and he healed them all. And he warned them not to tell who he was. And that, again, was to fulfill what was spoken through the Isaiah the prophet in verse 18. Behold my servant whom I have chosen, my beloved in whom my soul is well pleased. I will put my spirit upon him, and he shall proclaim justice to the Gentiles. And he will not quarrel, nor cry out, nor will anyone hear his voice in the streets. A battered reed he will not break off, and a smoldering wick he will not put out, until he leads justice to victory, and in his name the Gentiles will hope. So, he withdraws himself because A, they wanted to do harm to him, to destroy him. Well, that would be emotionally, mentally, physically, in every way, right? When people get like that, they just want to destroy you however they can. But he said no, right? He withdrew himself to do the work of the kingdom of God and to fulfill a prophecy. And you have that same calling to do that. So there are times when you need to withdraw yourself from that. And we have in Malachi 4, we've been given, the church, our assembly, has been given a mission as well. And he said, fear my name, and the Son of Righteousness will rise with healing in its wings, and you will go forth and skip like calves from the stall. You will tread down the wicked, for they will be ashes under the soles of your feet on the day which I am preparing, says Yeshua. And in, what does he say in 4? He says, remember the law of Moses. That's what we're supposed to do. This is what we're supposed to do. And many will accuse us, and do accuse us, for keeping the law, right? Remember the law of Moses my servant, even the statutes and ordinances which I commanded him in Horeb for all Israel. Behold, I am going to send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and terrible day of Yeshua. He will restore the hearts of the fathers to their children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers, so that I will not come and smite the land with a curse. So there are people and groups that only want to accuse you. They only want to see their needs met and their paradigm met. This is why it's so very, very important to develop love. Love brings wisdom, so that we are wise in these situations and with people, so we can fulfill the commission that our assembly has been brought to do. Yeshua says they will know you by the love that you have one for another, which is so very vital and important. There are times we need to withdraw from people and groups to fulfill our commission, and so that no man can steal our crown. So there is times, even at this season, in December, to withdraw from certain areas, certain groups, because it can be a wear down, where your crown can be stolen. You do not have to reject anybody, but there are things that we need to know what we can do and what we can't do and where we can go. And everybody's going to have a different tolerance level of what they can do. So, for instance, there may be groups, let's say for children in school. We would always just take the children out of school at the beginning of December, especially when they were at the Christian school. So they would have the entire month of December off, because the whole month was preparing for the Christmas concert anyway, right? So it's okay to withdraw them. They didn't accomplish, they would do some homework at home, but it's okay to withdraw from that and take that pressure off and to do other things that would build them up. So there's a time to withdraw from that, right? And sometimes we just need to withdraw ourselves, even in your job, in my position, or in your position, wherever you are. You may go out at lunch and not stick around the office, or you may just withdraw for a few moments from where you are, wherever you're staying or whatever you're doing, and go for a walk and pray. So there's ways we need to fill ourselves up. And the other thing is we don't race to the internet to discuss all these things with people who made a choice to bash the people who keep the law. That's not our commission. It doesn't say go make everyone believe what you believe, right? Go make sure everybody understands that they're to keep the law. It doesn't say that. We are to turn the hearts of the father to the children and the children to the father, right? And so we don't have to argue with them about Christmas. We don't have to do anything whatsoever. And this year has been different because, of course, the Secret Santa thing went out on Friday. And they all do it on the computer now, which made it a little bit easier, actually. I don't know how they do it. But anyway. And so everybody puts their name in. Of course, it's a fake name. And the boss came around and said, so everybody's got their name in? Charlene, everything's good? Because I know she knows that I'm not going to do it, I'm sure. And I've never said a word. Never said one word. So who knows what they assume? But my job is only to love them. And love them. And make sure I'm giving to them. And I'm listening to them. And that I love them all the time, no matter what. That's my only job. And so I said, yeah, everything's good. Okay. So she went and pressed the button, and so off they are. And they're all going to open their presents at a staff meeting. Should be really fun. Should be really fun. I'm sure there'll be a story that comes out of that one too. So we'll see what happens. That's coming up real soon. So, but there is time that we need to remove ourselves and give yourself some rest in those situations, and maybe more so right now, or maybe more so another time. It doesn't have to just be this time, but in this season, there will be some times that you need to withdraw and go places or do things that is refreshing for you. So it can be a few minutes, a day, months, and it can be even years that we withdraw for certain things in our life. There was a time when I needed to withdraw from my brother because me phoning him absolutely and completely irritated him. So it was not loving him. That's not love. And as soon as I did that and just kept praying, it was restored. There are times that you tell your children nothing. I don't think I've got that one yet, though, do I? No, I haven't got that one. She says I'm not good on that one yet. There's times that you withdraw from saying anything from your children about certain things, and I'm really bad at that. We need to get better at that. And so don't say anything, because when you put that pressure on and you say things, it's not love. And it doesn't draw them to Yeshua. By saying less, you're saying more a lot of times. And that can be about talking even to your grandparents or your grandchildren about God. If their parents don't want you to do that, don't do it. Don't do it. Just bless them. Right? Say, I bless you, you know. In Matthew 14, with the 5,000, where the 5,000 were fed, when Jesus heard about John, he withdrew himself, right? When he heard about John the Baptist. And he went out in a boat to a secluded place. And it's okay to be by yourself and secluded once in a while. And he went by himself. And when the people heard this, they followed him on foot from the cities. And when he went ashore, he saw this large crowd, and he had compassion on them. So he may not have been totally filled up, and he might have been, but he had compassion on them, and he healed them. And 5,000 people were fed that day. But he went out and he withdrew himself and he secluded, because we have to fill up our cup. So do we have a place in our home where we can have a peaceful place? Do we have a place in somebody else's home? Maybe we have to leave our house to get a peaceful place, and somebody else provides that place for you just to have a tea and a peaceful place. Or maybe it's a coffee shop that's just peaceful, and you have a peaceful corner, right? Where is that secluded place for you? And do you have those places already so that when you need to withdraw, you feel comfortable there? It's set up there. You may have a chair. I always talk about Louise buying me that chair. It gets used every single day, constantly. And it might be the cat, and it might be me or Jaylene or somebody, but that chair gets used all the time. And she was right. She said you need a place that you sit down and you have a place to go. And everybody needs that place. Or a couple of places where you can have that secluded place. And it shouldn't be a place where anger has been put out or anything like that. It needs to be a place of peace that you can go. So there are times to withdraw, to grieve, and to receive comfort from Abba Father. And we too need to allow a person time to grieve. And that could be the grieving of the loss of a job, a marriage, a home, a person, or even a loss of a member of our assembly, or somebody moves away. Somebody leaves a position at work that you really connected with, that you worked with. Give yourself some time to really be able to think over that and to process it and to be able to lay it down. It's a way of walking in love to yourself. Because if you do that for yourself, you will do that for other people as well. So love says we allow others to have their time to withdraw. So I was looking at some places, because I started to think about this, that when I found out that the house was going to sell and the people wanted to sell it, all during the week, my brain would go, oh gee, I wonder what I need to sell. The house is sold, Charlie. Like I get about that part. Oh, they actually want to buy the house. And all week, I was surprising myself that somebody wanted to buy the house. And so I started thinking about this, and I thought, I haven't given myself time to withdraw and really use a praise time and a thank you time. Because your withdrawal times is so that you can praise and give thanks and get close to the Father in heaven and really process what He's done in your life. Because you want to take those seeds that He's given and you want to water them with thanksgiving so that they go in your heart, because otherwise you become malcontent. Well, what's God done for me, right? And all of a sudden it's a big, huge thing because you don't remember those times because you didn't let them sow into your heart. Just take hold in your heart. And so then I realized that, and I've been thinking about this and thinking I haven't even had a chance to just really, praise and thank and think about how absolutely amazing and awesome this is. And I phoned my brother, and I was phoning about the bear spray he gave me. I'm like, I got bear spray in my cupboard. Did that come from you? He goes, yep. I said, I'm going to give that back to you. He said, okay. And so I told him that I sold the house, and I told him how. And you could tell on the other end was like, he doesn't want to say. But this sister of his, she got that van and nobody helped her. Right? 74,000 kilometers on a van for $5,000. How did she do that? Now somebody came and bought her house. There's no way. They were telling me all kinds of stuff. You're not going to sell the house, and you're going to need to do this, and you're going to need to do that. And so sorry? It's not supposed to work like this. That's right. It's not exactly. That's exactly how they think. It can't work. How can that happen, right? Mm-hmm. So he said, okay, when it's signed, you got it all signed, everybody signed, call and I'll give you a Yahoo. So I'm going to call and get my Yahoo. This morning I'm leaving, and this lady calls. Her name's Pop Day. And I said, so good to hear from you. I was starting to look in the obituaries for your picture. And so she said, how's it going? I told her about the house and what happened. And she goes, well, where are you going to move? I said, well, that's the next step. In other words, why are you worrying about it? We're just getting to that step, right? And she started to laugh. She goes, you know what, Charlene? It's just all going to work out, isn't it? Yes, it is. She's a positive person anyway. But you could tell by how she said it was like, well, if she got this and she got that and it's working out, I guess the next thing's going to work out too. So that was good. But as I was going over that and I was thinking about these times of when in the day do you take a chance to withdraw from your phone, from music, from people, and just be thankful? Or just think about what's happened, or go over your life and say, wow, I was blessed here, I was blessed here. Do you have a set time in the week that you do that? What time in the week have you set aside where that's your time to withdraw and say, hey, I'm going to take an hour, I'm going to take 45 minutes, I'm going to take 3 hours, maybe you're going to take 7 hours. and I'm going to withdraw, and I'm going to have my time. And that could be at lay down. But sometimes lay down, you can go through a lot with lay down. And once you've laid it down, you get that peace. But do you have a chance to withdraw then too, and just be thankful for what happened, and really sow it into your heart? And what about in the month? Do you have a day a month that you say, you know what, we're going to go out. I'm going to go out. And I'm going to sow and have fun, or I'm going to do something, right? And I'm going to be peaceful, and I'm going to do something that's fun. And where are you going to go? So, and then I was thinking too, we're getting to the end of December, and anybody who wants to go away or do things in the summer, with Shelby and Edwin getting married, the honeymoon, they got to start booking stuff now. So where does God want you to go in the summer? Are you making summer plans? And if you're booking somewhere, maybe the spring or the fall, or you're going to, somebody just booked at work a trip to China in April, or Japan, sorry, in April. So, people are booking, right now. So where are your times of refreshing that you're going to start putting in? Do you have a plan for refreshing, right? I've talked about that gentleman who would go away once a year, him and his wife. She would go one place, he would go the other. And they would spend a night over in different places. They would go over the year. They would go over what happened the last year, and what their plans were for the next year. And then they would get together and they would talk about it. And they did that once a year. But they also had a plan for once a month too, as well, for shorter term things. So how can we put these in? So then I thought I'm just going to pull up what's in the county of Parkland. So the county of Parkland is west of Edmonton. It goes all the way out to maybe Evansburg. Anyway, county Parkland's huge, right? But Spruce Grove, Stony Plain, right? And I thought, what areas are there out there that you could just go secluded for a walk? You could go for a drive. You can do that anywhere in Edmonton too, because there are beautiful places. You step out your door. Well, you step out the door here, it doesn't take you long to get to the ravine, and to get to a treed place. That's one thing about this city. We have a beautiful river valley, and it doesn't take you very long to walk to it, right? And you can be in beautiful places in the river valley. Beautiful kind of places. If you want to go for a drive, I just looked it up, and I was like, there's the Clifford Lee Bird Sanctuary. You can walk around there in about half an hour. You could stay there all day if you wanted, right? 20 minutes from the city, max. 20 minutes, right? There's the Wagner Natural Area. I think that's the one just off the Yellowhead. Probably take you 15 minutes to get there once you get out of the city. Really close. And then there was the Bunchberry Meadows Conservation Area. Then there's Chickacoo Lake Recreation Center, which is just up by north of Stony Plain. Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely amazing. Winter, you go right now, get your big thermos, fill it with hot chocolate, or hot toddy, or hot apple cider with a little bit of a kick, and then off you go. It'll keep you warm. The weather, it's snowing outside, but it's warm, right? Put on your toque, put on your boots, and off you go, right? If anybody saw our pictures from Thanksgiving, it was snow on the ground, but the sun was warm, and we had a fire, and we had a lovely time. Absolutely lovely. A couple of weeks ago, we went to Calgary, and we went to the zoo. Well, it was 1/3 off the price, first of all, if you got them online, because who wants to go to the zoo when it's snowing? We did. And you know what? All the animals were out. You saw every single animal. You had to wear a toque and mitts and boots, but there's inside, outside, right? And you take your little thermos, and off you go. You have your little fire there to warm you up. And it was a lovely day, because there's hardly anybody there, right? Absolutely gorgeous. So, how do you want to do that? In the city, we have so many lakes with trees. And there's this lady, Deborah Kaninsky, and she takes these amazing photos. And she takes them on a lake in the middle of a residential area. And you would think she was out in the wilderness somewhere. of ducks and geese and all kinds of things she's taken. Absolutely gorgeous. And I just learned about another place between the river in Devon and the Devon Botanical Gardens, or they call it, well, it was the Devonian Gardens before, but it's now called the University of Alberta Botanic Gardens. There's this whole 160 acres of natural area in between. And so they have Prospectors Point on the north side of the river. Then they have this 160 acres of natural area. And then you have the Botanic Gardens. And you can see all the trails they've been putting through, all the boardwalks. How far is that? 15 minutes from the West End. 10 if you live on that west side that's almost in Devon, right? So all these kinds of places, and then the Henday. The Anthony Hendy's great, I gotta tell you. When you're mad, angry, great lay down track. When you're happy, great praise track. 9 o'clock at night, anyway. So those are kinds of things. But it doesn't have to be a park. It can be a drive. It can be a cafe. It can be somebody's house. But find your places and your times where seek out places that you can recharge and refresh. In Matthew 14, verse 22, it was when Jesus walked on water. Immediately he made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side. And while he sent the crowds away. And after he sent the crowds away, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. And when it was evening, he was there alone. After times of great outpouring of energy, maybe a person's angry with you, or a time that you served a lot, a time of giving. You fill up your cup by withdrawing and being alone. Play some music. Go over your thankful list. Right? It doesn't have to. I play some breakfast jazz music. Sit on my chair and have a chai tea or something, and I just go over the things that I'm thankful for, and I try to have that real time to do that. And I've noticed that time always wants to get stolen, and I miss that time. And so you start to protect it more and more the more you do it. So withdraw and pray within a situation. So in Luke 22:39 in the Garden of Gethsemane, we know that Yeshua went with the disciples and he withdrew from them about a stone's throw away. So there's times when you're in groups that you may withdraw from a group, but you might only be a stone's throw away, but allow yourself to do that. A lot of times what happens is we start getting upset and we start maybe getting angry about something. And we need to stop ourselves and say, you know what, I can leave this situation right now, and I can walk over here and give myself a chance to pray about the situation, give myself a chance to regroup, say why I'm thankful, call on Yeshua to redeem the situation, whatever you need to do, and then you can go back into that group. And so he withdrew from that. And when he arose from prayer, he came to the disciples and he found them sleeping from sorrow. I think that's very interesting. When we have sorrow and a lot of things going on and things have happened to us, have you not had times in your life where you just want to go to bed and go to sleep? You just go to sleep. And so actually 2 things happened today. 2 different people with different things happened today. And both of them were in bed because of sorrow. One more because of fear, and the other because of sorrow, because of a couple of things that happened that they need to lay down, but all they said they wanted to do was go to sleep. Well, going to sleep might give you some rest, but it's not going to take away the sorrow. And it's not calling on Yeshua to fill you up. And so it doesn't take away the fear either. You wake up and the problem's still there if you didn't call on Yeshua to fix it. Because as soon as you lay it down and you call on Yeshua, you can get up and you can have a new perspective and new ideas and creativity on how to overcome a situation, right? So he said, why are you sleeping? Get up and pray that you may not enter into temptation. So we face situations where there's sorrow. Regrets can bring us very big sorrow, can it not? And all we want to do is sleep. Fears can bring us sorrow, and we will sleep instead of facing them in the way Yeshua showed us how to escape our fears, pains, and regrets. So lay down is a withdrawing that brings a new perspective, energy, peace, creativity, so many things. What brought me to withdrawing this week was really going, when I realized that I had a buyer and I was wound up inside because of all the regrets. That I could not phone them and accept anything until I laid it down first. So I gave the offer and they came over the next Sunday, and 3 of my children were there as part of the releasing of the house. And it was interesting because as we talked, one of them said, I know this is the right thing to do. I was really irritated when you told me I needed to release the house. And I know this is going forward, but I probably have a good cry when the house sells. And I said, your brain just spoke and your heart just spoke. You need to release the house. Because I said, we don't have to wait to have the house sold, whatever your situation is, right? You don't have to wait till then. You can have the joy now by releasing it and laying it down to Jesus and going in peace through that situation. You don't have to wait to cry then. You can lay it down now, right? And it's better to do it then. So withdraw to praise and give thanks as well. So that's what I have for you today, and may you have some time to plan your schedule and add some times and what refreshes you. Maybe sometimes we don't even know because we run on a treadmill or we run on like a little hamster on a wheel, and we're refreshing. What's that? Peace? What's that? Where do I get that from? Definitely bought that t-shirt. I got that one too. But and you don't even know what peace is and what refreshes you. And we were coming back from Calgary and we were all talking, everyone in the van, and I was saying, there are people, you do not have to see them all the time. You could see them once a year and still love them. It's okay to withdraw yourself from them because you know how much you can take, and some people you can only have them for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I've timed it. Yeah, about 4.5 to 5. Then it gets a little better. You get to 10, and you got to hang up, right? So you don't have to be in certain situations all the time, and there's ways to come out of it. Because what I've noticed is when people stay in those situations, a lot of bad decisions are made. A lot of false doctrines are accepted. A lot of falseness is accepted when we don't withdraw ourselves from those situations, because you can't keep having it, pound on you, right? So we bless you with coming to know what refreshes you.